When people fled the conflict in northern Uganda, they gathered in temporary camps. Now, nearly 10 years later, they're still there. 1.5 million people across northern Uganda live like this. Despite the best efforts of a dozen NGOs and UN agencies, malnourishment is rife. Only 10% have access to healthy sanitation, and now they face an outbreak of cholera. Welcome to the problems of another tiny corner of Africa. Improving the quality of life of hundreds of millions of people across the world is the essential objective of the Millennium Development Goals, 8 promises made in the year 2000. It's a United Nations project sponsored by its members and key supporters like the EU.
We, the European Union, are standing behind these goals. We want to support the Secretary General Kofi Annan with this aim, and we really want to make a difference. We will stand behind it, and we always stand by our commitments. We will also prove that.
The alleviation of poverty is one of the Millennium Development Goals. Over 80% of Ugandans are poor subsistence farmers, a target group for assistance. Agricultural advisors are helping these farmers switch from growing wetland rice to an upland variety. Upland rice requires less seed, is easier to manage, and the yields are higher. This group of rice farmers are looking forward to their first harvest in a few weeks. Professional agricultural advisors from the national agency, NAADS, have also helped Ojiambo concentrate on poultry production.
I'm moving from poverty. I started earning a little money whereby I see that my family does not suffer a lot. When people are sick, it is very easy for me to take them to the hospital. I've seen that closing is a bit easier. Yes, that's what I can tell.
The European Union is the largest donor to the United Nations and to developing countries like Uganda. This rural road project is using manual labour. It's a chance for local men and women to earn a little extra money. But aid in the form of handouts from Europe is no strategy in the long term. The real economic impact will come later.
We want to have these countries come up like every other country. So I think there is a very strong moral basis, but of course the moral basis then also has to translate into means, and we also give the means, and we also give a lot of technical support.
Linking trade and development is key to the European approach. When this road is complete, local farmers will be able to bring their produce to market, something that was impossible before. There are other positive signs regarding the development goals. 2 years ago, there were 150 pupils in this school. Now there are 410. It's the same pattern nationwide. Uganda's Universal Primary Education Programme, UPE, has seen a doubling of pupils in school and lower dropout rates.
It is a very good program because most of the parents here in our area are very poor. They can't afford paying school fees for their children. But this UPE has helped them so much because parents buy only books, uniforms, and send the children to school. Children are happy as you see them. Everything is going on well.
Environmental concerns are another focus of the Millennium Development Goals. Carbon emissions are not the burning issue here, rather the threat to Uganda's natural forest. It's at crisis level, fueled by the growing population's demand for firewood for cooking.
We need timber for most of our activities, for fuel, for paper, for everything. So without replanting, we are killing the country will have no future. Yes.
The response of the European Union is to support commercial forestry plantations. Private planters receive partial funding by way of a grant to clear land and plant trees in Uganda's central forestry reserves. Planters have to take a long-term view of their investment, and the grant aid comes in a trickle.
There is no quick money in this, that's what I'm telling you. If now, for example, I would wish my great-grandchildren to be involved in this business. That's why I have managed to get 1,000 hectares here.
When it comes to a millennium issue like HIV/AIDS in Africa, it's hard to be optimistic, but it's not hopeless. Everyone attending this clinic is HIV positive. It's being run by TASO, the AIDS support organisation, a professional network of supports based on care and protection.
With HIV, that's not the end of life. You still can do a lot for your family. Your family still loves you. They need you. You see, your support is still there.
Medically, coping with AIDS in Africa is inevitably compounded by other conditions like malaria, TB or even malnourishment. The wider availability of antiretroviral drugs is one area where the international community can make a difference.
The ARV drugs, that's why you see me now, I'm smiling. I could even now dance and do other activities peacefully.
The level of awareness of AIDS in Uganda is high by African standards, and the government's openness about the extent of the problem has proven important. Uganda has managed to halve its AIDS infection rate to 6%.
We are the first country to open up and tell the world what is happening. We can also help other nations that have not opened up so that they're able to pick and understand the way they can address this epidemic. We need that support. We are ready to do it. We can give the lead.
But when it comes to the IDP camps strung across northern Uganda, no one knows the AIDS infection rate among this population. Like refugees everywhere, they're marginalised and insecure. The threat of violence, so often fuelled from neighbouring countries, makes a return to normal life seem impossible. And here the children have been suffering most. They've been targeted by insurgent groups for kidnapping and murder. It has led to night commuting. The children are so scared that every night they walk many kilometres from the camps to local towns like Gulu. Here they sleep and feel safe. Uganda, like so many other African countries, desperately needs to end a cycle of conflict that destroys hope for development.
The African Peace Facility was created by the European Commission because there is always a link between security, development, peace, environment. Therefore, I think we have to tackle all these questions at once, and therefore the peace-building Council is a very, very important one, and so is the Human Rights Council at the reform of United Nations. We, the European Union, want a very ambitious reform of United Nations.
The global community is making progress on security issues. More civil wars have been solved through peace treaties in the last 15 years than in the previous 200. In the meantime, people in crisis situations need help and support. Firstly, to survive, and then to break out of the cycle of poverty and dependency. Progress on the Millennium Development Goals will make a more secure world for everyone.
We have to work with all our partners in order to make issues go forward, have a special focus all together on many, many different themes and issues, and thus bring the international community together. And the more we can do, the more effective we will be. This is what we call effective multilateralism. And indeed, the United Nations is the organization for that.